Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. I apologize firstly that I haven't done a couple of videos, I think in probably 4 days, but I do have good reasons for that. You know, work was working. I am going to do one little video and put it out there of a day in the life of, which would be me of course, and it's just kind of little bits of what I get up to when I do the role that I do. Anyway, we are back to Love is Blind series 2. We are now on episode 8, so let's get into it. But before we do, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because I continue to be on the road to 1K. Oh no, we are back where we left off, you know, with Javin doing the fuck shit that he did and walking out and deciding to go to clubbing while his, you know, fiance, I use that term loosely, was lying on the bed crying her heart out. We see Ashley and Billy is off to Belfast to meet Billy's people, and Barda has decided to wax Jed's chest, but okay. So we have Katisha and Javin. Now, to me, the first opening scene looked like she was packing for some reason, because they were both looked like they were packing their clothes. And Javin is there on the sofa messing around with his phone. I thought, I mean, production could have got his ass up off the couch to go speak to this girl, yeah? But not long after I thought that, Javin is now got into the room to speak to Katisha, saying how excited he is to meet Katisha's family, and Katisha looks stressed. I'm like, how does this boy have this pep in his step, yeah, looking so happy to meet Katisha's family, and Katisha's there looking hella stressed. This girl's got no makeup on at all. Not saying that she don't look good with makeup on or not, but you can see that, you know, she looked drained. She looked honestly drained. She did not look happy in the slightest. Yeah, I'm like, at this point, are you two not going to talk about the elephant in the room? Like, seriously, are you not going to talk about it? Because at the end of the day, this man left this girl alone and crying in a pillow. I'm thinking, is she going to let it slide? So all I'm going to say, if no fucks was given was a poster child, it would have Javin's face on there. That's all I'm going to say. So Katisha then asked him, like, how was last night? Because, you know, he wasn't going to bring it up at all, so she had to jump into that melee with him. All he said was, oh, it was good to meet everyone. So she asked him, like, you know, the £1 million question, who was there? So he said everyone who went to the mixer, and like, then he only named Anu, Yolanda and Sophie, and then a few of the guys, which I think was Damola and Patrick. He says none of the other girls were there, or any of the other couples, and the only other couple that was there was Kieran and Megan. That should have told him something, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? That he is definitely the odd person out, that he's not in the yard with Katisha trying to sort things out with her, or Katisha's not with him. Do you know what I mean? So when Sophie's name was mentioned, Katisha, you could tell she did not like that in the slightest. There's no video footage of this at the moment. I have a sneaking suspicion, because I know the reunion is on tonight, but I'm not going to be watching it till tomorrow to be able to do a video for you guys tomorrow, because I'm literally just catching up on everything and getting these videos out for you today. But I believe that they're going to play a sneaky one and probably show the footage of what happened at GIY on the reunion, to actually get to the truth of what the hell happened there with Javin's behaviour at the end of the day. So Katisha basically asked this dude, did you not see that I was upset last night when he left? And he said no. And I thought, Javin, you're a bloody liar, man. It was written all over her face and in her body language at the end of the day. Man said, not really, yeah. That's because this man ain't bothered about Katisha and her emotions, and his behaviour showed that. But you know what? I think Katisha is now finally starting to click onto these facts, yeah? Like, he ignored what was right in front of his face. We all saw how despondent she was when she got back to that flat. He couldn't tell me that he didn't feel no change in that environment, because we felt the change through the freaking screen. So he then chose to go out. So you can see Katisha's not happy by the answer. But I thought, well, what did you really expect from Javin. He's a selfish person. All he thinks about is himself. So he continued with to Katisha, if you was, then I wish you would express it. I was like, mate, her whole face said she was not happy. Her whole demeanour said she was not happy. He chose to ignore it, and now he's putting the blame onto Katisha for not verbalising it to him that she was upset. She didn't have to say she was upset. You could flipping tell she was upset. I told ya, Javin is selfish and he can't read the cues of Katisha, or he can, but he chooses not to take them on board and run with what it is that he wants. But in his own manipulative way, he will make it seem as though it's Katisha's fault for not airing what she should have aired with him, which is ridiculous. I understand that people are not mind readers, but Jesus wept. You're telling me you can't read body language? Like, seriously. So as I said, he puts it all on Katisha by then pulling it back to it's how I communicate versus how you communicate. But Javin doesn't communicate at all. He really doesn't. In the conversations the night before, when like he was talking about what Damola said or how he viewed Sophie, and all he said was, oh, Sophie's good banter. He can't even communicate down to his feelings about marriage and not loving Katisha to Katisha. He can't communicate at all, and then he wants to put the blame on her. Communication is a two-way street. It's an absolute two-way street, and if there's blockage on one carriage, then the other one's not going to get what it is that you're trying to say, because this man can open up to his friends and say how he feels about marriage and how he don't love this girl, but when it comes to saying it to her face, he's playing a good game because he's not doing it. So Katisha had to tell him that she was upset yesterday, and he said, about what? Dude. And it's the fact that Katisha turned around and actually had to explain to him how she was upset the night before. And I was like, why do you have to explain that? He could see you was upset, but you're literally there explaining it to this man. So she basically said that she was surprised that he went out. I thought I wasn't. He's an absolutely selfish person, so his actions have shown that there's no way that he would be able to make any changes to the person that he is. And she's routinely picked these type of men before, and that's who Javin is. She's picked the routine, which is what she was trying to get away from. So he chose to go out because he didn't want to deal with Katisha and how she was feeling. He didn't want to have that conversation with her, yeah. So now he's pleading ignorance. That's how it seems. That's how I'm viewing it. So Katisha continues with like the importance of how to date is for her in regards to meeting her family, and she was then saying it as though when he went out last night she didn't know whether he'd come back hungover. And I thought, mate, that's not the reason why you was upset with him. It was more than that. We saw how she looked and how she was despondent when she was watching them, Sophie and Javin kikiing it up in the freaking corner. Yeah, this man was A1 flirting with Sophie, and we knew that was hitting her. He was A1 flirting with Anu, again, knew that was hitting her, and more suspectly probably A1 flirting with Yolanda, but they didn't show that shit except for the questions that Yolanda was asking Javin. So yes, she would be pissed. She would be pissed. That was the real issue. It weren't about no hangover business. So I don't know why she did not tell him in that sense of why she was pissed off and why she was upset. So he's asking Katisha, like, do you really think that would be me to turn up and meet your parents hungover? And you should really know me to know that answer would be no. I just thought, you know what? I just literally can't with this dude. Like, there was no point in them two having this conversation, because he was always going to use the manipulation 101 tactic to literally deflect and divert it back to her and blame her for how he's now reacting and how he is presenting, because she is not a good communicator, that she just didn't know what was happening or what he was doing. So he replied he wanted to go out that night to see the guys because he was not going to see them again after that. That's how he was playing it. Not once, I shall add, and I'll get to it in the next episode as well, yeah, take the point that once during this conversation did he say that he only spoke to Sophie, Yolanda, and was other girl Anu. Not once did he say that to Katisha. His main reason he said he was going to GAY, as I've already explained, was because he was wanting to see the guys, as in Domala and Patrick, because he wasn't going to see them again. I more than likely believed it was because he wanted to see Sophie at the end of the day. That's how I felt it was. Or he wanted to carry on his flirt bag ways, like he ain't got a whole fiance there. Do you know what I mean? So you see Katisha talking to the cameras, and she was explaining how Javin is not her past, so she needed to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm just like, I don't know how many ways this man can show this girl that he has no respect for her, nor does he really wish to be with her, for her to make a full-on decision that this man is not right for her. At the end of the day, she's saying he may not be her past, but she's picked the same type of guy that she had in the past. She's not learned from past behaviours of the guys that she's picked to rectify picking a good person. She's not learned from that at all. She's picked the same type of person that she continually picks, which she said herself that it never works out with. Never works out with. But yet she's finding herself in the same kind of freaking spiral, same kind of circle. It's a new day and it's a shame sheet. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. I don't understand why she keeps giving this man the benefit of the doubt. Like, literally. She said she trusts Javin, and if she didn't trust him, then she wouldn't be there. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't even think Katisha believed her own words at this point, to be honest with you. I'm really not trying to be down on these two all the time, but in my point of view, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that says to me that they're a good fit with each other. From what I've seen, they should call it quits now. They should have called it quits before, to be honest with you. But you know what? She's giving this man the benefit of the doubt. She's saying, I'm going to trust him until he gives me reason not to trust him. Again, she didn't really look very convincing when she said that. That's all I'm going to say. So then we go to Megan and Kieran, and they were reminiscing on last night. So Kieran basically said that he was very surprised to see Javin turn up on his own. I'd say nah, because Javin is an arse. He ain't really attached at the hip to Katisha at the end of the day. So for him turning up on his own did not surprise me in the slightest. So Megan said that she didn't appreciate what she saw of Javin's behaviour during that night, and how cosy he was with some of the Pod Squad girlies. Basically, he was cosy with them throughout the whole of the Pod Squad meetup, to be honest with you, especially Anu and especially Sophie. So if anything is going to get said at this point, especially from Megan or from Kieran, if Katisha needs to be aware of a situation, then it needs to be concreted in facts. So Anu had been telling Megan that Javin had been giving her the eyes all night, but in the Pod Squad meetup that we were able to watch, Anu had been flirting with that man all that night as well, to be honest with you. So it has to be something more tangible than that, especially if they're going to bring it up to Katisha. So all the girls said, like, he was being super flirty as well. We saw it. We saw that he was being super flirty, but he's being more super flirty with Sophie because this man was trying to sort something out with Sophie for after the show. Let's just put it that way. Knowing full well that he has a whole fiance back at home, so he should have had the foresight to think that, you know what, anything could get back to her. Anything could get back to her at the end of the day, and it won't go down well with Katisha because she watched him flirt the majority of that night, and that's what made her so upset. So Megan says to the cameras that Javin took one of the girls from the Pod Squad into a photo booth in that club, and I thought, okay, so now there is your concrete evidence, because why would he do that? And furthermore, why are you taking next gal into a private space to do what with? And I have a belief that it would have been Sophie that he did that with anyway. So I thought, will it be the case at this point that she's going to tell Katisha? Because at the end of the day, if she didn't, and Katisha was blindsided and then realised once that information came out that other people knew that he did this, she would be wondering, well, why didn't no one tell me? I would have had to tell her. So you do have Kieran thinking that, you know, of his friendship with Javin and not wishing to put Javin in a difficult position. And I thought, no, don't do that, Kieran, because that's how boys do at the end of the day. They will kind of step back from the situation and not want to get them into trouble. At the end of the day, it's Javin's behaviours yeah, that is going to get him in hot water, not Megan telling Katisha. So Megan is right to put Javin in a difficult position at the end of the day, because it's of his own making. So if it were Katisha and Damona that was reportedly going in this photo booth, and even though it was innocent enough, you're still questioning what the fuck is she going in there for when she got a whole fiance at home. She shouldn't be in that private space with that man, knowing full well that this man wanted her anyway. Kieran does end up agreeing with Megan that yes, she's going to need to tell Katisha at the end of the day in terms of what they both saw. It is what it is at this point, do you know what I mean? It is what it is. This Javin is continuing to show who the fuck he is through his behaviours and how he moves. Like, he really is showing his arse at this point and showing that he really doesn't want this girl. And I think putting it on other people to say it to Katisha will finally make her realise he don't want her. So Sarova, you see, is picking out clothes for Cal to meet her mum and her sister tomorrow. I was like, I wonder how that will go, because I think it's going to be bumpy to say the least when Cal goes to meet her family. So Sarova does ask Cal, like, how does he feel about meeting them? And he's saying that he doesn't get why her family is not excited as his family. And I thought Sarova will already have a ready answer to defend the actions of her family. But to be honest, I would say they should at least ward off any type of judgment in regards to Cal until they meet Cal, as what they're doing, especially her mum, Sarova's mum, is pressuring Sarova into a difficult situation where she feels she has to choose her own happiness with Cal or that of her family's. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, when she makes that decision, it's kind of like, well, what consequences may befall her at the end of the day if she goes with her happiness? As it's all well and good saying that, you know, her family didn't sign up for this, but they could at least hear their daughter and Cal out first before they pass judgment. So Sarova, you see, does talk about like their expectations. So to the camera, in summary, Sarova talks about this not being the traditional way in which things are done, and she says until her mum meets Cal, she can't expect anything from her yet. And then as they're in the room chatting, Sarova's phone starts pinging next to Cal, and Sarova says it's probably her family again, and it was. So Cal is basically saying that he is nervous to meet her family, but more in particular Sarova's mum, due to the levels of communication that she's already had with Sarova and how she hasn't been coping very well with the decision making that Sarova is making at the moment. He says if he has Sarova's approval, that should be enough basically for her mother and her sister. As I said, I think this meeting will go one of two ways. Either way, I was kind of thinking, oh, it may not be so great for Cal, but I was kind of hoping that it would quite go well. And I was hoping that they do come around to the idea of Sarova and Cal being together, because if they don't, then I'm wondering, will Cal and Sarova be able to survive under those circumstances? We get to Bangor in Northern Ireland, where Ashley and Billy are meeting the rest of Billy's family. So they're meeting Mairead, which is Billy's mum, and Cassie, which is Billy's sister, and they're very excited to meet Ashley and very excited to think that, you know, their brother and the son is bringing someone that he is engaged to, so they're happy with the prospect. Ashley is a talker. I mean, we've all gathered this. Ashley is very much a talker, because he's allowing that space for Ashley to talk and to converse with his mum and his sister, and Billy's is quietly sitting back and letting her take the lead, and it's going very well so far. So Ashley stays back to talk to his mum while Billy and his sister go to get the tea and coffees, and you know, this is going to be where they have the talk on how they believe things are going. So Billy's mum thinks this experiment was basically perfect for Billy. She says she can see Billy has let his guard down with Ashley, and you know, and that Ashley is a confident and strong young girl and believes that's what Billy needs. I thought, yeah, because Billy, I think in my view, has kind of been trying to push Ashley a little bit to see how far he could take his bullshit, and to see how far that he'll be able to see where Ashley can fold in terms of him getting a certain way. But I will give it to Ashley though, she's definitely not afraid to communicate about what she likes and what she don't like, or what's impacting her. So Billy knows exactly where she stands, and I like that about her. So Cassie like tells Billy that she absolutely loves Ashley, which is good because when the family's on board, it does make it a lot easier. She does ask Billy how he's feeling about getting married again. And it wouldn't be natural if Billy or any of the other people within this didn't have any fears at the end of the day, because you know what, you're going to get the proverbial cold feet before you do get married and question, is this right for you, is it right for right now, and stuff like that. So Billy said he was scared, and says as much to his sister. Basically, he does say his fear comes around in respect of Ashley's job, as he sees it as a hurdle, but he hasn't necessarily communicated this to Ashley, as basically they've had discussions about her job, because she knew, being cabin crew, even though she's the manager of cabin crew, what this would how this would impact on Billy and any decision making there, and the pressure it may cause to their marriage. So they sat there and made a plan over a period of 6 months of what would happen within that time until she's able to get a job on land, so then they can spend more time together as husband and wife. So my thing is if you've comfortably sat within that, comfortably made those plans, at the end of the day, Billy knew of Ashley's job before he asked her to marry him. Billy had shared his reservations previously about her being cabin crew, but still continued on to ask her to marry him. So for him to sit there now and say, oh, he's concerned about her job and this may put pay to them getting married, I have to say it's bullshit at the end of the day, because if that's the case, then you really need to let this girl know, instead of making her believe that everything's a-okay. So he says, like, you know, she will be going away maybe 3 to 4 days out of that week, maybe we'll only be home for 2 days, and he does not want a marriage where they will live separately. And this is where the compromise is going to have to come in. If he really wants Ashley, then he's going to have to fight for that marriage in that relationship too, the same way that Ashley's doing with him, to show him that they could have a future together. And yes, be realistic about the fact that within the first 6 months of their marriage it's going to be flipping hard, because they are technically going to be separated, but how that can work in between, until they can be together properly. So as Ashley's already said to him, she would not mind changing her cabin crew work so she doesn't fly to ground work at the end of the day. So he knows all of this. So sometimes I think people just like to borrow issues and make it a mountain out of a molehill, because I think that's what Billy's doing right now. I don't want to invalidate how he feels and how much stress and pressure that might put on him, but at the end of the day, he knew all of this going in. He knew what she did going in, and he still continued to ask her to marry him. So, so he says he wants more stability, and being cabin crew, he says, you're not always promised that. And my question again will be, well, why did you sit with Ashley and plan a 6 months trajectory in terms of her travel to accommodate for her to be able to transition to a land job? If this is the overall concern that Billy has, it doesn't make sense to me, because they found a solution to the problem. Yes, it's going to be hard to be away from your when you're newly married. It's going to be hard, but I'm just wondering how much this would then play into Billy's decision making. And then on the flip side, it's very hard when the camera swings back to Ashley, and she's so positive and literally wants to marry Billy. There's no ifs, no buts or maybes with this girl. She's straight down the line, wants to marry Billy, and can't wait for his mother to be her mother-in-law at the end of the day. And I'm like, well, Billy has these doubts and he ain't communicated it with Ashley, and it's going to devastate her when he does, let me tell you that. So it flips back to Billy again, and he says to his sister, like, he doesn't want to give up as he loves Ashley, but this moment in time he doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, I do talk to Ashley about these very real fears that he has, as without that, Billy won't have any reassurance from Ashley in regard to how things will change or how things will look to them, and he will continue to feed a falsehood to Ashley that everything's all okay when it isn't. It's not fair on her at the end of the day. So then we go to Dumfries in Scotland, and you see Javin and Katisha meet her family. So it's Caroline, Katisha's mum, and her siblings are there as well. So one of them automatically says, "Oh, you brought your boyfriend," and I thought, yeah, because this is how Katisha and Javin see each other, as boyfriend and girlfriend. I ain't really saying nothing about it because I've already said it in past episodes. There's a difference between a fiance, yeah, and a girlfriend and boyfriend relationship. But hey ho, this is where we're at. So Katisha says to her family, like, this is Javin, and basically we got engaged and we are getting married. Her family are like, what? That's a bit fast, isn't it? Her sister's face said it all, like seriously said it all. At this point, when Javin saw her sister's face and how they were reacting in that point, Javin wasn't smiling. They did say congratulations and yada yada yada, and then Javin laughed. He began to relax in that situation. But I think with Javin, when he was looking at what was going on and how her family presented, because they are a bit chaotic, but they're a lovely chaotic, let me just put it that way. I don't think he took that very well, because I think he sat back and he was very quiet and he was just very watchful, you know. And I think thoughts were probably swirling through his mind of what it would look like when you do family functions with Katisha's family. At the end of the day, that's how it was coming off to me. It was an okay visit, I must say, but I think her brothers and sisters were definitely a distraction, but so far it was still awkward. It was still awkward between Javin and Katisha. So mum has a chat to Javin and Katisha as the kids go off to, as her brother and sisters go off to play. And she says that she does wish to have some conversations with Javin. I was like, okay, let's see what you're going to say, Mama. Let's see what you're going to say. So she asked Javin, like, how long have you been looking for someone? And he said, like, for the last 2 or 3 years. I call bullshit on that too, because Javin's never been in a freaking relationship properly with anybody. So I don't even think he was looking for marriage at that point, to be honest. So her mom said, right, what I want you to do is look at how my man treats me, as she is looking for somebody to treat Katisha the same way as her man treats her, basically. And I was just like, I'm sorry, but Javin is not that man for the job for Katisha. He really is not. I do not think at this stage Katisha actually know this. I think she's getting kind of intuition on this, but it continues to ignore it. But she will keep pressing on, yeah. So Javin asked, like, her mom, how would you say he treats you? And again she said, I'm his queen. I thought, mate, Javin and Katisha aren't even on that level of the playing field. This man doesn't even love her right now, doesn't love Katisha right now, but he cannot call Katisha his queen, because this man is already putting out, as I would say, applications for other people to be the applicant. At the end of the day, he can't give her that validation that she's looking for, that she chose the right man in him. So she tells him nothing else will suffice for her being someone's queen. So I'm reading between the lines on that, like, so I'm saying her mum is more than likely saying, if you can't give that to my daughter, then you need to let her go from now, to let her find somebody that can. But Javin's not going to heed that at the end of the day, because for some reason I don't know why he's clinging on to this limb so hard, but you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. So, and she says she wants her daughter to be happy, and that's all she cares about. And if Javin makes her happy, and she makes Javin happy, then that's it for her. So she basically then says to him, like, welcome to the family, my darling. I mean, when Megan drops the bombshell about Javin's behaviour at the club, I don't think it will be welcome to the family at all from Katisha. It will hopefully be by Birdie, is what I'm saying. So Javin says he appreciates her mum saying this, but he doesn't really speak up in this meeting at the end of the day, and neither does Katisha, to be honest with you. They're quite quiet. So yeah, the meeting went well, but I feel the apprehension too at the end of the day. So we quickly skipped to Buckinghamshire for Cal to meet Sarova's sister and mum. Sharan is her sister and Bali is her mum. Let me just say, Sarova is all smiles, but Cal, you can tell he's hella nervous, like proper hella nervous and apprehensive about what to expect, which is why I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that it played into the first initial conversations, because it was piss poor. The first initial bits was absolutely piss poor, and I thought, Cal, what are you doing? What are you doing? So Cal was right in he was not wasting any more time. It was strike while the iron is hot when it comes to Sarova's sister and her mum. So Sarova's mum asked him, what's so special and unique about Sarova that made you choose her? Okay, Mama was not smiling when she said that at all. So she was watching Cal very carefully, and so was the sister. Cal struggled. Let me just put it this way. Cal struggled at the first inning. He said, then he said a couple of things, to be honest. I thought, Cal, come on. Come on, you know you've got it in ya. I was rooting for Cal throughout the whole of this visit, let me just tell you. So Barley said, okay, then it would be good to hear, because she wanted to know what's so special about my daughter. So he said, like, I've never dated a southern girl before. He liked the posh accent. She was something new and something good for him. I was like, oh mate, oh Cal, this is not what her mum wants to hear. Like, come on. Her sister didn't want to hear it. Even Sarova herself was sat back like this. Sarova looked hella like disappointed or nervous, because she was looking to her mum, because she could see the looks that were being swapped between her mum and her sister. So she I think she knew what that meant. She was reading in between the lines in terms of the subliminal messages that were going on underneath all of that with their body language. I knew Cal was nervous. And I thought, mate, you should have at least been prepared for some of these answers, because straight off the rip, once someone asks you, what is it about this person that made you pick them over all else? You have a straight answer. You have a solid answer, because you love this girl to the bones of her. That's all you needed to freaking say. Every time you two had conversations, it got more stronger and stronger, and you knew that you had a sense of familiarity with each other. That's just off the rip. Do you know what I mean? And Cal knows this. So you could tell he was nervous, but all I'm going to say is that it was bad. It was bad. And you could tell that Sarova's mum and sister was not impressed at all. So she asked him, like, are you 100% ready, as the commitment of marriage is massive? And Cal said, yeah. But he was not convincing. I just hoped it would get better as time progressed with her mum and her sister. I felt so bad for Cal at the end of the day, because he was being himself. He was literally being himself. And to me, I know Sarova loves her mum and her sister. I just felt that they were looking down their noses at this man, to be honest with you, which was making it doubly harder for Cal as well. And Cal then made the comment to her mum, like, good work, in a way, like, by the way as in bringing Sarova into the world. That did not come off well. It didn't come off well, because the looks that went round the table looked like they were ready to spit teeth, man. And poor Sarova couldn't do anything but look down, because she looked so uncomfortable by the conversation that was going on around her right about now, and the looks that her mother and sister kept on giving each other. Yeah, so she knew Cal was not doing a very good job at that moment in time, but they didn't really appreciate Cal, I don't think. Cal has not had to deal with a family such as Sarova's before, so there was bound to be some communicative issues as they got to listen to what he said, but they kind of could have tried to read through the lines and had more of a dialogue with him to support him in terms of his thought process. I thought, oh God, they don't like him, do they? And Sarova's face, like, I think seeing that they possibly did not like Cal, was not going over well. Cal was not really picking up on the vibes at that point, and it looked like Sarova had reverted to the position she placed herself in, that she always placed herself in with her family, and felt that she was not pleasing her family right now. I think at some points they were rude and dismissive of Cal in the initial meetings, yeah, and didn't give Cal at least some grace due to the nervousness of him at the end of the day. And Cal in that instance, I think, was then picking up on their displeasure. So then we go back to Scotland to Javin and Katisha. So Javin, you see, is playing on the trampolines with her brothers and sisters, and Katisha is speaking to her mum. Her mum is basically saying that she really does like Javin, and Katisha says, like, in response to getting married, it is a work in progress because their communication is not their strong point. Katisha is basically blaming herself in terms of where the downfall is in their communication, because she's saying that she's not necessarily forthcoming because she's scared of other people's reactions, and she says it's something that she needs to work on. And I thought, this is absolutely ridiculous that this man has got this woman to a point of thinking that all the communication issues are down to her, not him. But she turns around and says to a mum that she feels that Javin holds things back. I mean, we could see that a mile off, yeah. We could see it a mile off. So she asked her mum how she would be able to communicate with him because she's absolutely struggling. The difference is Katisha could fully communicate with Damola in a way that I saw she couldn't with Javin at the end of the day, and this is why she should have picked the best man, which was Damola. Yeah, this man can't even read Katisha's cues, or if he does, he completely ignores them. As I've said, her mum has concerns on how a marriage could work with no communication, and she tells Katisha to go into this with her eyes wide open and show them that she is the prize at the end of the day. I thought that's good advice Mumsy gave, but I don't think Katisha has that confidence because she chose her type and thinks that it will be different this time around when it will not. So we go back to Cal in his meet and greet with Sarova's sister and mother. Let's say at this point it's tense as hell because it looks like they're just looking at each other around the table. And Sarova is yet to speak or try and back Cal in any which way, to be honest with you. But on the flip side, if Cal can't show confidence in his place in Sarova's life and why he should be there, he ain't never going to get them to see how they work together. So Sarova asked her mum and her sister how they were feeling about the process of it all. And I've found each time they were speaking, it was kind of like making a dig or sounding unkind to Cal at points, and showing that they are probably a little bit disappointed in the journey that Sarova has decided to take, but they need to realise that Sarova is a grown-ass woman and Cal makes her happy. So Sarova does speak up on how her mother's and sister's communication over the past weeks have overwhelmed her, basically. And her mum says, well, yeah, I'm a mum. And I'm like, yeah, we understand you're a mum, but your daughter's of an age where you shouldn't be able to dictate her life at the end of the day. Those messages put Sarova in a place of emotional pressure, and I think her mum needs to understand that and hear it from Sarova's side, so she needed to stay quiet and let Sarova speak. So Sarova turns around and says, I expect you to trust me and my decisions. So Sarova was the one who said, like, this is real between us two, yeah, and you have to trust the process. So Sarova put Cal first, and I honestly hope that she does not come to regret it with him. And then Cal comes out with a proper conversation and then seems to be winning them over. So the trajectory of the conversation has changed, and now it seems to be pulling back. And I was like, mate, why didn't you start here? Like, seriously, why didn't you start here? So at the end of that whole conversation, they end up getting mum's approval, and Cal has impressed her fully. That's how good he was at that point, yeah. So let's hope that this helps him in saying yes to Sarova. So you see the couples getting on, and then it moves to Jed and Bada going to Jed's home. To me, it seems as though Jed is all in, but it's Bada that I'm worried about at the end of the day, especially when it comes to giving over to Jed in some ways, but not always, because I don't think Jed wants control of her or take away from her independence, but he also wants to show her she is loved, he cares for her, and this is the way that he does it. So his home is nice. His home is really nice, and so far all the homes that I've seen have been nice and clean. I mean, they must have learnt from other episodes, especially from the USA episodes where some of the homes left a lot to be desired when they went on the home visits, let's just put it this way. So they meet Jed's mum and dad. So Jed's mum does raise that, you know, she's worried about the speed of it all. And again, as I would say, that's the name of the game. But his dad is basically not so worried, and he says, like, it's about being happy, and if they make each other happy, then he's happy and he doesn't worry about the rest. And Jed's mum does raise that, you know what, they call me the pessimist at the end of the day, but I'm not. I just think about all the other things that could come into play, which is what she does. So Jed does explain like how intense the whole experience is, and his mum has asked, well, have you had any arguments? And they said no, and she basically said that's not normal. And throughout the conversation, I did kind of think, you know what, she's literally the voice of doom, but she ain't wrong at the end of the day. So they say that they are 100% sure and happy, and his mum is right. The wedding is the beginning of it. It's not the end. The rest is hard damn work. Basically, she did bring down the vibe of the meetup, but she made them think. So I can't fault his mum at the end of the day in telling them that it ain't all rosy. You need to be realistic about this thing, and especially when you're making a decision of this magnitude when it comes to getting married. So we get back to Manchester, and Katisha has gone to see Megan. I was like, oh damn, here it comes. So Katisha does say that she was a little bit pissed off that Javin had went out after the mix-up. But now they've talked about it and now it's fine. But as I've said in the beginning of this episode, they didn't necessarily talk about it, to be fair. Yeah, Javin said that he couldn't tell that she was upset, so fucked off out. She turned around and Javin was talking at her in terms of who was there, who we saw, not who we spoke to, or how it went in that sense. And then they just went on to the fact that they were going to meet her family. So it wasn't really discussed about it. They didn't really fully communicate about it yet. Megan said she didn't appreciate how Javin was acting at the place. I mean, the man's was acting up at the mixer, yeah? And that's the part that Katisha was pissed about. That's the part that made her despondent. That's the part that made her upset. Yeah, we all saw that, yeah? He didn't go once to go speak to Katisha throughout that whole squad pod meetup, if you noted, yeah? Like, everybody else kept on going and seeking their partners out, hugging them, kissing them, checking that they're okay. Javin didn't do that once with Katisha. She was literally sat down with either with Megan or I think Ashley or Sarova, and she was speaking to Yolanda while Javin again was with friggin' Sophie, and she was speaking to the girls when Javin again was with Demola. And then he spent a bit of his time with the lads. He never once went to seek out Katisha to say, you're okay, is everything alright, can I get you anything? Not once did that man do that. Okay, so she says Javin went straight to Sophie when he hit that club. Let's just put it this way. He didn't chat necessarily with the boys or come and speak to Megan and Kieran. Now, this is what Megan's saying she saw from her perspective, and those would be the key words in that. So I thought definitely sus behaviour from Javin, but are we surprised? Remember, again, we've not seen the footage of this because it's going to become a whole thing, let me just put it this way, on who said what, but we've not seen the footage of this, and I have a sneaky suspicion, as I said, that they're going to show it in the reunion. So the only time Katisha saw visible disturbance in what Megan was saying when Megan says she watched Javin and Sophie get in a photo booth together. There was no photograph to be seen apparently at all, and Javin basically said to Megan that they were having a chat. I thought, really, mate? Really? So Megan said she asked Javin, why did you need to have a chat with Sophie? He said to Megan, this is from Megan, it was nothing. It's this convo we had in the pod. Okay. This man didn't think that any of this would get back to Katisha because, you know, he was with his boys. So his boys won't say nothing. Didn't realise that there was Megan there, do you know what I mean, clocking his movements at the times that she clocked his movements. But hey ho. So Megan then says he went down the line, talked to Yolanda and then to Anu. And Sophie, I thought, I knew it, this man is a player, and if he didn't do something physically, he will flirt inappropriately. This man was interviewing these girls, yeah. Let me just put it this way. So Katisha said that this is embarrassing, and what tipped Megan over the edge was Javin's response to her questioning him on his behaviour. When he had the boys there, why didn't he go chat to them? That's when he said on the walk back, Yolanda makes him happy. Katisha literally responded with, what? And she shouted it out. She went, what? And I thought, how much you want to bet this man was interviewing potentials? That's what he was doing. He was interviewing potentials because he knew this thing was not going to happen between him and Katisha. Let me just put it this way. So Megan then continued with, he said, Anu makes me happy and Katisha makes me happy. I was like, Will and come and get my selector. Can we wheel that one back again? Like, seriously? So Katisha asked, was he acting like he was moving on them? And I'm like, what does it matter though? What does it matter if he was moving on them or not? At the end of the day, he shouldn't be behaving the way that he was, the way that Megan's describing. He should not be behaving that way at the end of the day. Like, he was acting like he's a whole single man on these streets. So Megan had to reply and say he was not acting like you and him were fiancés. Because what Katisha asked was irrelevant. It was absolutely irrelevant whether he was making moves on the girls or not. This man was flirting inappropriately with them to the point of, one, he took in a fucking photo booth. Come on. Did it really need spelling out for Katisha? Because, seriously, I don't think Katisha wanted to believe what Megan was saying at the end of the day. So I think she was thinking that if I ask that question, now this is my opinion only, yeah, she could forgive him for the disrespect of everything else. But if he was moving to them, she may not be able to forgive that so easily. I thought, okay. She said the behaviour of Javin is basically so like her ex. But I kind of thought, ain't that why you chose him though, my love? Like, seriously, you didn't move away from your type, did you? Expecting it to work out when you know it never does work out. So I just thought she didn't learn her lesson. She didn't learn her lesson at all. I don't like people getting hurt. Let me just put that out there. I don't. But I'm going to have to say my sympathy and my empathy well had run out at this point with these two. Like, completely would run out. Katisha, as she should, is angry. But I'm like, you knew what he was like in the pods and you still went for him. Like, your whole common sense went out the rotted window with this man. Like, seriously. It's only a matter of time until Javin moved up the disrespect ladder to see how much Katisha was willing to accept. Because that's what he was doing. So this behaviour of his did not surprise me, because it continued from what he was doing at the pod squad mixer. Do you know what I mean? So she believed, like, you know, that she was framed as the bad guy in the whole Damola debacle and Javin thing. I thought, mate, you were the bad guy though, because you strung Damola along at the end of the day to pick a dud when you had a real. Oh, there's nothing more I can say about that. There is really nothing more I can say about that. So you see Katisha talking to the cameras, saying that she can't quite believe it. And I thought, you really can't believe it? And she continues with, like, how can you be engaged to be married and you are jeopardising that now to get to know other people? I thought, mate, this man has been showing you who he is consistently, but you continue to forgive him and his poor behaviour, because he's managed to twist your head into thinking that the issues lay with you. That's what he's managed to do. We could see this through the screen. I understand we are not in it and can't really speak on their full experiences, but we can only go by what we see. And we see that man was not it. Like, seriously not it. So you see Katisha go back to the flat. This girl starts packing her bags, you know. Packing her bags. You see Javin come downstairs and ask her if she is alright. I said, mate, you can clearly see this girl is not alright. She's packing her shit. So Katisha's basically saying, no, I'm going home. So she says, why didn't you tell me you was hanging around Sophie and Yolanda all night when you went out? I thought, mate, that's not the right question to ask. This man repeated himself so many times, yeah, when he heard what Katisha said the first time. For example, when she says, what was you doing in the photo booth? Man said about 10 times, in the what? What? He then tried to say that him and Sophie were having an argument, so that's why he took it in the photo booth. I thought, are you mad? What have them two got to argue about is the fucking question that I need asking, to be honest. So Katisha then asked him, were you getting a photo? The man told you the photo booth didn't work. So why are you asking him that dumb question for? Katisha at this point, I don't think was listening to a word that was coming out of this man's mouth to ask him the right freaking questions, because she was leading with emotion at this point in time, yeah. She was too focused on packing and going home to listen to his rubbish. So this man repeats himself and says, Sophie and I were arguing outside the booth, so Sophie got in and he followed her to finish the argument. Again, my question will be is, what the hell do you two have to argue over? Never mind the damn photo freaking booth, yeah, if the curtain was open or shut, because that's what he was trying to play as, that the curtain was open or there was no curtain there. That's a moot fucking point. What was you two arguing about that you had to go and get privacy from? So Katisha tries to tell him what Megan said, and this girl cannot bar for bar say what Megan told her, and she ends up putting her own spin on it, which don't help the situation at all, because she lies on what Megan says basically. So she didn't say he was trying to move to them, and that's what Katisha said, that Megan said, like, you know, you were trying to move to them, da, 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 da. No, she didn't say that. So the fact that she will give this man to try and finesse, because she's standing there, yeah, listening to his explanation, this man has that stupid rotted grin on his face again, like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. When in the face of Katisha being angry and upset with him, this man is smiling like, I've got the cat that got the cream, because I know this, whatever Megan's told you is a falsehood, it's not true. So in comes Javin with the excuses. So now he turns around, oh, so it's only Megan that came back to tell you when all the guys were there. Damona and Patrick was there. And again, Katisha is listening to what this man is saying. Because of course the guys ain't gonna, like, you know, say a damn thing about what they saw if they saw it. And Megan would tell Katisha, as they are in an experiment together, what she saw. He then goes on to say, what did I say when I came back? I said to you, I spoke to Sophie and Yolanda. No, he didn't. He didn't say that to her, actually. He told her who was there, and that was it. So now Javin is saying that Megan is lying, because he's focused on the fact that Megan said that he was with Sophie all night, when he says he wasn't with Sophie all night, and basically that he moved to all three girls all night. So it looks like, at this point, I thought, is this girl going to believe everything that's coming out of this man's mouth? Because if she does, he's going to play her until the end. That's all there is to it. He don't want to marry her, but he will be the one that goes to the pulpit, if he gets to that stage, to embarrass her in saying no, he don't want her in front of everybody at the end of the day. So Katisha says, like, she wasn't finished, and then told him Megan spoke to you about it on the way home. And at least she quoted Megan right in this bit, like, you know, that listing the girls that made him happy. And Javin says, I don't know what she's talking about. But he doesn't really deny that Megan spoke to him about what was going on the way home. So what reason again will Megan have to lie about this? What reason would she lie about it? So you see Javin talking to the cameras, and he's basically saying that he's so confused about the misinformations that's being fed to Katisha. He says he has no idea what Megan is accusing him of. I thought, mate, you really have no idea of your behaviour that was shared with your fiance and what could it imply, really. Like, you really don't have no idea of what's being said about you. Because at the end of the day, Katisha didn't really tell the full truth of, or the facts stated by Megan word for word of what she told her. Katisha literally perceived it as she saw it and thought he's moving to other girls, and planted it as though that's what Megan said to her, when that's not the truth. It's not the truth at all. So he does the classic, like, turnaround that people do to get the focus off of them. So he deflects from this situation. So he says to Katisha, so what, do you believe that I was getting it with Yolanda and Sophie? I thought, mate, you're not be getting with them right now, but you're lining up potentials at the end of the day. That's what your behaviour is showing. So Javin's over here looking like he's fighting for his rotted life right about now, but he ain't. He is manipulating Katisha and making her doubt Megan and what was shared with her, basically. So Katisha ends up replying, well, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, and then to the camera, she's saying, part of me wants to give him the benefit of the doubt as they have a strong connection. I thought, slap my ass and paint me purple, because, girl, what? I thought, if that was such a strong love and such a deep connection, your first action would not be to pack your things, but go talk it out with this dude and make a decision then. And I think Katisha is falling into patterns of behaviour that she's learned from when she was within her previous relationships. This man knows how to play her like a damn fiddle, especially during the fact that she's actually shared how her ex had behaved towards her. So he's doing the same fucking things. So Sarova and Cal, you see, it flips to them. They go to dinner. after the intense meal, which did turn good in the end. So Cal basically said that he was impressed by Sarova saying like she had his back and say she would always stand up for them. Cal does share his tendency like to wander off if he spends too much time in the company of a girl, as it with some of the girls that he has been out with, it made him uncomfortable spending that time with them. But he doesn't get that from Sarova, and Sarova is so pleased to hear that from him. So she does thank Cal, as now she sees for the first time he's learned her how to put herself first, which is a good thing. So then it flips to Katisha, and you see her sitting at the table writing a note for Javin. She has made her decision to leave and not marry Javin. I have to applaud that, because yes, Missy, he was not right for you at all, and she's completely breaking the cycle. Yeah, because she herself said that if she would have continued to stay, she would have continued to try and change this behavior that was going on. So she's relieved now that he showed her who he is now, not years down the line. And I thought he kind of showed you who he was from the pods, but you know what, I won't kick her while she's down at the end of the day. And that's it, folks. Katisha removed herself from the situation, and she was honest when she said that there was something niggling in the back of her mind, but she was not listening to it at the end of the day, because that was her intuition telling her that something ain't right here. And then it continued to beat her upside the head until a situation evolved, yeah, and then she could no longer ignore what it was and who it was that Javin is. So I'm glad she took heed of that now and walked. I am glad she walked. She basically said that she wanted a happy ending. She wanted someone to love and support her. And I thought, mate, I believe you may have had that in Demola. So yeah. It's time for you to go. So Javin comes back, finds the note. He just sits there, nods his head. And I think it kind of does hit him in a way. But he, you know, he's going to do the whole bravado thing. He ain't going to show his emotions on screen at all. He's going to do the nonchalant act as he did. It's the smile that bothered the fuck out of me, because he was like, and then went, as in, I'm not bothered at the end of the day. Then he ripped up the note with quickness and dashed it away. So Javin is only pissed off that Katisha believed Megan over him. I thought, no, he's pissed off that he wasn't able to manipulate Katisha in the way that he had been doing. Basically, Katisha controlled this whole situation in her way, and he didn't like it because he lost that control of her, basically. So why would Megan say something happened when it didn't? Because that would be messed up at the end of the day. So, as I said, we didn't see that night out. It wasn't put on the screens, but I'm sure it's going to surface somewhere. So he says he knows what happened, and he has other people to corroborate what happened on that night. So now he wants to have a meeting with Megan and Kieran, yeah, to get down to the real truth. And I'm like, this is not going to go down well at all. So it's telling that Javin decides to FaceTime Patrick and told Patrick what happened. And I thought, you see this here? I said, bros are going to have his back regardless, even if they see him doing dirty at the end of the day. They're not going to air out his dirty laundry. But if Javin is telling the truth, then Megan will have some explaining to do. But I'm sorry to say, I believe Megan. I really, really do. So Javin is basically taking it as Megan told Katisha that he spent the whole night with Sophie and Yolanda. Now, this is where the miscommunication is, yeah, because Megan didn't say that. She really didn't say that. She said he made a beeline for Sophie and Yolanda when he arrived, and that he had his boys there but didn't stay with them or stay with her and Kieran. This is what she saw. She's stating the facts and perceptions of what she saw, not what Javin says happened, because she didn't see that. And that's where he's getting it misconstrued at the end of the day. So, of course, Patrick is going to back him up, which is what he did. It's to be expected. And then he turned around and he says, like, you know, if Katisha is listening to that, then she is valuing other people's opinion more than her own. No, she's protecting herself. She's not valuing other people's opinions, love. She is protecting herself. And Javin couldn't give a reasonable explanation as to why Megan would say the things that she said if it didn't happen. Yeah, yes, Javin may be calling her a liar, but he's doing damage control right about now, because he knows he's on TV. He knows that all of us and everybody else is watching him. So he is going to want to be able to get a perception of a positive character about himself. So what the fuck is he going to do? He's going to call the person who's telling the truth a liar and then try and make it seem as though Katisha is out of order in believing that person over him. At the end of the day, this man showed his ways in his behaviours. He was up and down that freaking squad pod meetup, flirting with Anu, flirting with Yolanda, and hella flirting with Sophie. So yeah, I believe what Megan is saying at the end of the day. So we see Ashley and Billy, and she decided to check in with him to see how they're both feeling about the wedding coming up in 2 weeks. Here I expected Billy to be honest with Ashley and lay his fears out to her. And he did turn around and say that he was torn down the middle. He's 50-50. Ashley didn't take that well at all, because she did not expect to hear that he was literally not 100% in like she is. She said that she felt sick and she felt that her heart was in her mouth to hear that doubt being shared by Billy now. And she was not expecting Billy to say like it was half and half for him. So it came as a shock to her, as in fully, like, because I'm thinking she's expecting marriage out of this to Billy at the end. She is expecting marriage. So Ashley does go hard to Billy to show him what they could potentially have and the future that they could have. And she thinks in essence he's just focusing on something going wrong in the 6 months, which I believe he's focusing on that, like if their jobs do not align. And Ashley is telling him that the first 6 months are going to be hard, but she sees that future for them. Ashley said it was hard hearing a no, and Billy looks so shocked by this. Like, he asked, so what? Are you just jumping into this regardless? And she said yes. She's that serious about this man at the end of the day. And she tells him it's a yes from her. It's been a yes from her from the get-go, and that's not going to change. Now it's all down to him at the end of the day. I think for once at this stage, with what Ashley has said to Billy, he's grasping the enormity of what it would mean for Ashley if he said no to her at the end of the day, and how far gone she is at this moment in time. So I do feel it for Ashley at the end of the day, because she is there wanting what the true essence of this show is. But I'm like, will he break her heart at the end of it? Like, seriously, because I really think if he says a no, it will set her off the rails. It's something she will come back from, but it's going to be a long time before she comes back from it. So then we get to the meetup with Javin, Megan and Kieran. I understand why Kieran was there, because even though Kieran didn't say the things that Megan said to Katisha and was not there when Katisha and Megan met up, he agreed with what Megan was saying and what it is that he saw. So basically Javin is saying that he wants to clear his name, and that's all it's about with Javin. Like I already said, that's all it's about with Javin. It's not about like Katisha or anything like that, or proving a point to her. It's just he wants to clear his character. So he blames Megan for Katisha's departure, and he said they were half-truths. So Megan said, all I saw that night was you with Yolanda, Sophie and Anu. She confirms she didn't see him chatting to Patrick or Damola, and Megan says she didn't personally see him chatting to the boys. And that's what he needed to remember. Yeah, two things can be right at the same time. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean that Javin wasn't chatting to Patrick and Damola during that night. It was just not at the time that Megan saw him. That's what she's saying. And for some reason, Javin was not getting that through his head. If I was to hazard a guess, Javin probably didn't speak to them for a long time, or too long during the course of that night, to be honest with you, but was talking to them because he needed a cover up in terms of when he was chatting to the girls. And that's what I think that's why he was using Damola and Patrick as his little, like, buffer. So Javin said, this doesn't equate for all night. So if you don't see me doing something all night, in essence is a lie. And he said to Meg, like, the all night scenario matters because you are insinuating something that is not true. And we have to remember is he doesn't deny chatting to the women. He doesn't deny that throughout that night. Yeah, but he's being pedantic on the point of it not being all night, like it matters, because it doesn't. Katisha didn't leave because of that. That was the straw that broke the camel's back at the end of the day. And Katisha was not fully saying word for word what it was that Megan said. So it was lost in translation at the end of the day. So Megan was not getting bamboozled or manipulated in any way, shape or form by Javin. He couldn't play those games with Megan at the end of the day. And she told him, I told Katisha the facts. Every time I looked over, you were with Sophie, Yolanda or Anu. And she said, personally, again, I said, I didn't see you with the boys. And you say you were. But that's what I saw. Yeah, and she's right. She went off what she saw. But Javin is still not getting this through his fucking skull. Because what he wants is to push Megan into a point of her agreeing with him that it wasn't all night. So what she said was lies to Katisha, which caused Katisha to walk, which it wasn't. So Javin tries to say him and Sophie was arguing, and Megan says, were you, doll? Were you? As it looked like you were chatting together. I don't know if this is like the narrative that Javin wants to try and build up, but the question still remains, why was he and Sophie arguing? If what he says is true, something just ain't adding up here in Javin's explanations at the end of the day. So this man literally just wanted to argue with Megan to try and prove his point, to say, Katisha, look, you listened to her and she was wrong, but he ain't getting it easy with Megan. He really isn't, because she's giving as good as she gets at the end of the day. And I think at some point Kieran may have to step in, as it was getting pretty heated at this point. So Kieran turned around and had Megan's back and says, mate, I saw you and Sophie chatting and you went into the booth and the curtain was closed. Javin literally shouted, there was no curtain. But obviously something was there. That I swear to God they better show this footage at the reunion, because this is nuts, like literally just to put it to rest at the end of the day, because Javin wouldn't do anything suspect in front of the cameras. So a booth with a curtain will be the one for him to do what it is that he needed to do to finish the conversation that he started with Sophie already, because this man likes to talk in riddles when he's in front of the camera, so he's very aware of them. So this man, yeah, keeps going on about who he was with all night and how long he was there for. Kieran has Megan's back fully and is telling Javin directly to his face, you know, what he saw, and all Javin can say is it's bullshit. It's not bullshit though, because he wasn't getting anywhere with them. He thought he could manipulate them the same way that he manipulates Katisha, but he couldn't. The fact of it is, he spent most of his time during that night with the girls, yeah. He took one girl to a photo booth, which is bad in and of itself at the end of the day. Did God knows what, because why he couldn't talk to her without going into the booth is beyond me. Why were they arguing? Beyond me. So Kieran said, like, you know what, Javin, in talking about the all night situation is just semantics, because he wants to deflect it to that situation and let everybody forget about everything else that went on during that night. Then Megan says, well, why were you chatting to Yolanda? And Megan told him, like, you was all over Yolanda and Anu. Megan was holding her own. I ain't gonna lie, she was holding her own against Javin, and Javin was getting more and more het up as the time passed, because he couldn't get one over on Megan. He really couldn't get one over on Megan, and I thought it was at that point that the conversation should have ended there, because it weren't going nowhere else. So Megan then said to Javin, you said about Sophie that she would be someone you would like to fuck and then you would leave her. Javin said, I never said that. And Megan told him to his face, yes, she did. This is why I believe Megan. This is why I believe this girl, because she didn't stumble over her words. She did not stumble over her words. She wasn't afraid to present Javin with the facts of what she saw and what he talks about that night. And Javin had no other avenue for it. He really did not, yeah. So she does get up and say basically to him, like, Javin, see you never. Hope you have a good life, you fucking prick. And she walks out, because at that point I think she was getting so embroiled with anger that she was getting upset, and she did go out to cry. And I know that feeling, that emotion that boils up in you at the end of the day when someone's in your face calling you a liar, when you know you're not lying about the situation that happened. But I'm happy that Megan stood her ground. So Megan says to the camera that she had to leave the point of that argument, because at the end of the day she's had arguments with people like Javin before, yeah, where they would deflect to make the other person the focus of the argument. I thought good on her, because that's exactly what he was doing at the end of the day. So Javin really fought out of that conversation, because Kieran and Megan went outside, because Kieran went to go and comfort Megan, that he did something good. And I thought, nah mate, it showed you the prick that you was at the end of the day, and the manipulation and deflective tactics that you will continue to use against people. He was confronted with the truth, yeah, Megan's truth, but I could only focus on the all night, who he wasn't with all night. Javin said in hindsight, the easiest thing for him would have been to have stayed in and not gone out. And I thought, you think, but you were fucking selfish, mate, yeah? Your selfishness made you go out. Really? So he basically sits at the end of this episode talking about how he still feels strongly about Katisha, in essence, to come this far, basically, and he's saying not to talk or say it's over, but he's saying in essence, he was saying it was never going to work as they did not have communication. This man just wants to blame everything else but him and his behaviour into how things had worked out. Anyway, that is where the episode ended. I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, my regular guys and those coming in, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I'm on and doing videos. And I will speak to you all again soon. Peace out.